Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Spotlight North Carolina Cooperative Extension. North Carolina Cooperative Extension is comprised of two land-grant universities, NC State University and NC State University. Today I have with me special guest Dr. Howard Wallace. Howard, thank you so much for being with us.
So glad to be back with you again, Rebecca.
So we are going to dive into some interesting topics because you and I have talked a little bit about internet shopping.
That's right.
Now, for most of us women, this is our game. This is what we like to do because we don't have to go anywhere. We don't have to get ready. We don't have to fight the crowds, and it's really easy and convenient. So
super convenient now,
yes.
Especially since we have the power of internet accessibility in our pockets with our telephones. So you kind of let the cat out of the bag already. I was going to ask you, did you do online shopping? That's okay.
Yes, I do.
I knew the answer before I was going to ask it. But I just wanted to talk with our viewers today about a few just general basic tips to make their online shopping experience safer and also reduce the risk of being scammed, or at very least let folks know about what options they have if they do receive something through the mail that they purchased online that is broken or incorrect, or if let's say they're trying to buy, or they bought something, received it, and they're not allowed a refund. There's options they have there with that as well. Give me an example, Rebecca, of a website or an app that you use to shop online with.
Where shall I begin? Walmart.
Okay. Let's start there.
Okay.
Let's start there. Going back to some of my previous talks here on Spotlight, we've talked a lot about how if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, and at the same time, use your gut. So let's say you're at home and all of a sudden a pop-up appears on your screen, and it's a Walmart.com pop-up, and it says save 80% on some item that you had recently looked at on Walmart.com but had not purchased or even put in your shopping cart online. What do you think is the safest thing to do in a situation like that to ensure that you are actually going to get what you want to, or you've intended to order, and at the same time you're protecting yourself from being scammed?
Well, that's kind of hard if it's on shopping, because I get those from Sam's a lot.
Right.
To be honest with you, I get those on Sam's memberships, and they'll say save something percent on something you were looking at. And I will click on it. That's probably not the smartest thing to do, but I will click on it just to see what it looks like.
So what I always recommend folks do in a situation like that, if you click on it, that's fine, but at the same time, if you just go directly to the website and don't follow the pop-up, let's say it's a Walmart.com sale, pop-up pops up, instead of clicking it, go to Walmart, look for the product, and verify that the 80% off or whatever the deal is actually there. That way you're not funneling yourself into something that could potentially be wrong. Always go, that's rule number one on online shopping, always go to verifiable sites.
Okay.
Something else, even though it seems like Amazon and Walmart, and now with Temu and even eBay and Etsy, the big five I'd call them, even though it seems like they're going to have everything under the sun, they may not have what you're looking for. And somebody may do a Google search or some sort of basic search engine check to find what they're looking for, and they come across a website they've never seen. What you can do then is actually take that website and go to the Better Business Bureau website and verify that it is a legitimate site and it's not somebody out there operating just trying to collect credit card information. So that's rule number one on online shopping. Always verify that the site you're using is the correct site. And double back if you see anything online. If you get an email and you're signed up for the weekly email subscription list where they give you updates or they send you flash deals or whatever it may be, I think as long as it's coming from the legitimate source, if it says it's coming from Amazon or Walmart.com, it should be okay in your email to click those. But just general pop-ups that randomly hit when you're in a web browser,
Well,
I don't know if I trust those.
Let me clarify. Mine was text messages.
There you go.
So
Okay.
mine was not through the actual web browser. So
Right.
yeah, I wouldn't click it if it was a web browser
Right.
at all.
Right.
But yeah, mine's usually like they text me that they got this great deal going on and I got to check it out. So, and then I have to look and then I am like, no, you don't need that. That's a want, not a need.
Right. So if let's go back to that. Okay. So let's say we found a website that's got something that we want to buy. We're starting to check out. If you're checking out on a laptop or a desktop computer through a regular web browser, you want to make sure that when you're checking out that it's secure. And what you'll do is you'll look up where the URL is in the web browser, and in checkout there should be a lock by the URL. If there's not a lock, that's a red flag that you may want to backtrack and maybe not purchase through that vendor. So you always want to make sure you're secure on that end as well.
Okay.
So verify your websites, and at the same time make sure that it's secure when you're checking out. Now here's 3, and I'm going to spend a fair amount of time probably talking on this part. You also want to avoid using your debit cards online. Here's why. Your debit cards do not have the same protections that credit cards do. If your credit card or your debit card information is stolen, as it has been explained to me by my wife many times, who you know is a banker, your debit card is connected to your checking account. The bank looks at the checking account money as your money and your responsibility. Whereas a credit card, the money being used on a credit card is viewed as the bank's money and the bank's responsibility. So let's say you check out with a debit card and your debit card information gets stolen. The bank, depending on who you bank with, may or may not provide reimbursement for that money. However, if a credit card information is stolen and the scammer ends up spending $3,000 or $4,000 on your credit card, the bank is most surely going to assure that is corrected, because it's in the bank's best interest to prevent anything like that from happening, because that's going to negatively affect you. You're not going to use their credit card anymore. They're not going to gain any interest. So they want to have you using your credit card. So they're going to protect their interest in that regard. So it's better, not everybody can do it, but it's better to use a credit card. Some banks, if you're going to make a large purchase, let's say you're going to make a purchase in the 4 figures, over $1,000. And some banks may have it a little less. You can actually go to the bank and say, hey, I'm getting ready to make this purchase. I don't have a credit card, but can you give me a one-time credit card use charge card? Or effectively, they can give you a temporary card number to actually utilize that will get cleared when you run it through and process through on that website. And that way, you're keeping your debit card and your checking account safe from being out there on the internet.
Okay.
So that's something that people need to also be aware of. And I would recommend using a credit card before a debit card. The other option for things like Amazon and Walmart now, you can go buy gift cards too. And you can put those gift cards on your account on those websites, and then when you purchase, the money comes off the gift card.
How do you feel? I'm just curious. How do you feel about like the third parties, like the PayPal, the Apple Pay, those things? Do you feel like that has a level of protection if you did not have a credit card?
It definitely does. It definitely does. So utilizing those was going to be my next option, as a matter of fact, to go into something like that, which is basically just they're not a credit card clearinghouse per se, but they do act as another buffer of security when you go through those websites too. I don't necessarily recommend one-click shopping, but I do see the benefit.
Sometimes.
I do see the benefit in it though. The issue with one-click shopping, though, in my opinion, isn't necessarily anything to do with anybody nefarious or a scammer out in the world somewhere. It's more to do with people in our own homes. There was the story of The little girl who I think ordered like a few $1,000s worth of cookies on Amazon at one time because
somebody
she was
ordered their daddy like a hot rod
yeah,
car
yeah,
one time
yeah,
too.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
more my concern with that. But it is something for folks out there to definitely be aware of.
Right.
The biggest thing, though, again, I guess with all this is just if you can go without using your debit card online, I would definitely go that route, most assuredly. I don't know if you've ever had chargebacks before.
I'm not sure what a chargeback is. Tell me a little bit about that.
So it's whenever you have purchased something and it wasn't what you expected it was going to be, or it arrived broken, or it didn't arrive at
Okay.
all. And you work through that online vendor to try to get your money back, and it doesn't really work. With your debit card, the bank may or may not, depending on who you bank with, the bank may or may not give you your money back. But definitely with the credit card companies, they will fight to ensure that the chargeback it goes back to your account so you don't have to pay for something that you did not receive.
Yeah.
So that's another security about it as well.
Okay.
And
I've had some both before
Right.
with credit card and with bank card, and it wasn't that the bank didn't. It just I had to go through a few more hoops to get the bank to reinsure it, but the credit card was like immediately.
That's right. That's right.
That was an interesting
That's
point
right.
though.
I actually had this isn't about online shopping, but it kind of speaks to how quick a bank will or a credit card company will respond. Had a situation where I booked a hotel room through an online booking site, and I used my credit card, and I showed up, and the hotel was not a hotel that I felt safe staying in. So I go downstairs and I say, hey, this just isn't gonna work out. I turn the key in. I'd like a refund put back on my card. Well, the lady at the desk said, I'm sorry, but we can't allow that. And I went out to my truck and called my credit card company immediately. They credited back my account immediately and then worked. I don't know what happened after that, but I did not have to pay for a hotel room that I did not stay in that night, and it was like that.
Instantaneous.
Totally
Yeah.
understandable. Now I can understand too. I've only had to do that once on a blue moon. There have been a couple other situations where it's popped up. I could see where a credit card company could also say, we may choose not to allow you to use this card, or we may cancel your card if
Right.
you're using it too much
Right.
and then charging back too much, because that is a burden on the credit card companies for sure. But yeah, but again, that's probably my biggest point with everybody today. The other thing is, have you ever used Etsy or eBay?
Yes.
Bought off Etsy or eBay? Wanted to tell everybody about this too. Since those are online marketplaces, you're not buying from eBay, you're buying from somebody selling on eBay. Always go in and check feedback of the people that you're buying from. It's okay if they don't have 100% feedback, nobody's perfect, but you do want to check what caused them to not have 100% feedback. Sometimes it could be a misunderstanding, sometimes it could be something pretty egregious. And if you're noticing a lot of recent negative feedback, that's kind of a red flag that you might
Yeah.
want to avoid buying from that person.
Right.
So you may end up having to pay more to buy from somebody who may be just a little bit more reputable.
Right.
And that's not only on eBay, but also Etsy as well. So that was another tip I just wanted to let everybody know about too.
Well, those are good tips. So you're looking at go over. You said your three. You mentioned your 3 tips, your biggest ones.
So the biggest one,
Reiterate
making
those.
sure that the website's legitimate, ensuring that you're using a credit card rather than a debit card, or using some alternative method of payment than your debit card. And then the third one is just verifying the reputability of who you're purchasing from, whether that is a website that you just come upon that's selling what you're looking for and you can't find it anywhere else, or if it's somebody selling on an online marketplace like eBay or Etsy.
Right. Because like we've mentioned earlier, there's a lot of places that are selling this easy access. Dr. Wallace, thank you so much
Yeah.
for being with us. If anybody has any questions about online shopping and things for protection, how can they get up with you?
They can call me at 910-640-6605.
All right, well, thank you, audience.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us on this episode of Spotlight North Carolina Cooperative Extension.